There we go. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the July 9th, 2018 meeting of the Litchfield Board of Selectmen. The board is just coming out of a paperwork review session. It is now 6 o'clock p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and start the meeting with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the first item on the agenda is review and approval of consent items. The consent items include the meeting minutes of June 25th, 2018, accounts payable manifest July 3rd, 2018 of $1,686,274.58 and July 10th of $8,842.93. We have a payroll manifest of July 5th of $56,450.79 and of 7/12/18 of $48,658.97. We have an additional payroll manifest on July 3rd of $10,069.49. Are there any items members would like removed from the consent count?
I make most we approve as read.
Motion by Mr. Brunel to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Bork. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0-0. Are there any other items that members would like placed on the agenda?
Just two short items. One, just to understand where we're at with the wage plan review, just where we're at with that. And then two, the planning around the police chief's contract. What's our timeline on how we're going to start that? Because I know the budget committee is interested in what that is going to be. So,
okay. All right, those two items. Troy, could you note those, please? Okay. Thank you. Public input will occur no earlier than 6:15. I was going to have it first, but then I forgot it was posted at 6:15, so we can't do it any earlier than 6:15. So we will do some of the business, and then we will allow for public input. Okay. Okay, first item of business, Matthew Lepore on the town flag design. Matt, come on up.
And for the TV.
it's on the floor right there.
It's on the floor, Matt.
Thank you. All right. So after the meeting last time, I put up a poll on the social media page, the Facebook page. There it is. The Facebook page. I was asking residents what they liked, and I essentially was taking votes down as a tally. And the most popular one by far was design number 9 up there, which is symbolically represents the river and agriculture in town. And that held a significant number of votes because the second most popular only held 50 compared to 112 votes for the first one. So I made up the flag and what it will look like. It does not have the town seal on it. I'm working with a local screen printer to get that done, but just to give you an idea of what it looks like, you can do it upside down. It's like roughly a 3x5 flag. There's going to be a 16-inch diameter seal on the upper right-hand corner. So that's what it'll look like finished. And,
Nice.
so now the next step in the process is that I heard from Administrator Brown that we can, that the Board of Selectmen could sponsor a warrant article for this, and I am looking to see if I can have that done, or if the Board of Selectmen is interested in doing that.
Matthew, first I want to thank you for your work. It's excellent, and the idea of getting the votes like that, I think that's important. Members of the board, your wishes.
I think that's great. We'll definitely move it forward to the voters.
Okay.
Is the warrant article just to seek approval from voters to go forward with it as our official flag, or funding, or?
Yeah, so it would be a warrant article to approve an official flag for the town of Litchfield. I think while the design number 9 here won a lot of the votes through all the people have been asking. It's very popular. I still think that because there are 4 other popular ones, I think that there should be a little bit of variety when voters go in case they don't like that. If they want to just have the seal on white like Manchester's flag, then they can have that option.
So the only thing, Matt, at town meeting, they won't be able to do that. You won't be able to select an option.
It's either yay or nay.
It's a yes or no
Okay.
on a warrant article.
So just run with the just one.
If you're comfortable with that, and there's time in between now and town meeting where you could probably solicit more input, and then you'd be sure, you'd be sure of what design you feel that the people were interested in having, and mid-December, you could come in and talk to us and put together a warrant article. Let's do the beginning of December. How's that?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Any questions or comments from Matt?
Are you going to continue, Matt, to try to get feedback? See if we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and get as much feedback as possible. I've been people have been like recommending other designs like red, white, and blue, that sort of thing, and so I've been kind of drafting some designs there in case people would prefer something like that. But for the meantime, I think that's the most popular one. I'll keep asking people, see what they
Sure.
want. If they like the ones that I have, and we'll keep it with those.
Good. Thanks for your work, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, item 2, Heritage Commission appointment, Selectman's rep. Mr. Brown, do you want to fill us in on it?
Just wanted to point out that I had seek some legal advice about making an appointment to the newly formed Heritage Commission. Just concerned about a citizen that was recently appointed, also serves on the planning board, and legal counsel had no concerns, there was no conflicts of interest, but pointed out that there is a requirement that a select board member serves on the Heritage Commission. So we've appointed now, I believe, 3 residents to the Heritage Commission, and we probably to finalize it, we need to get a representative from the board to serve.
Okay. If the board is okay with it, I'll volunteer to do the Heritage Commission, all right?
Go with that.
Okay. I'll go with that.
Okay.
Do we know how often they're meeting?
They've not met yet, so I think now with, we have a full board now, and they can have their first organizational meeting and start.
Okay. All right, so we're all set with that, right?
Yep.
Okay, item 3, the snowplow contracts.
So the last time we met, I had shared some comments from legal counsel regarding our snowplow contracts. These are for private individuals that either operate our equipment or have their own equipment. And as you know, we've got 2 individuals that have told us and informed us they are not coming back next year. So I know I've heard some comments from the board, from general public about, the ability of interested companies locally here in town, residents that have the ability to operate this type of equipment, that they wanted an opportunity to be able to apply for this position, if we call it that. So we reached out to legal counsel, and they had reviewed, I had several questions about our purchasing policy, the competitive bidding process. And as you know, this isn't something where we just bid it. It's a set fee. We don't have people submit proposals and say they'll do it for $35 an hour. And we have other people saying $100. So we have the fee set, and the terms and conditions are the same for each contractor or individual. The problem was that at the time, we weren't able to find the contracts that we had previously. And so there was a question about whether or not we had to we couldn't just renew the contracts we had from last year and then, place a public notice out for interested companies and individuals for the number of positions we had. So we have found Diggers Landscaping. We have found the contract. They had 4 individuals last year. It's questionable whether one of those individuals will be back, but again, Diggers is the landscaping company that we've contracted with them for many years. And since they're a company, it's up to them to go out and find an employee to fill that 4th plow route. So then the other problem is KD Welding, which has plowed for us. He operates the 1-ton and does all the parking lots, does some of the cul-de-sacs. We don't have his contract, but he has worked for us for, the past at least 5 years. So again, I bring it to the board. We're at that point now where we need to take action on this. Obviously, Diggers Landscaping is, according to legal counsel, we can just reach out to them, renew those contracts. I'd like to have the board, and you have the right to, grant the exemption to KD Welding so we can get that contract in place. And then we'll start the public process. I'm sorry, the other contractor was Dalmatian Landscaping, and we have that contract too. So right now, we think we have 2 open plow routes. It's possible we could have 3. So we'd like to get the public, I'd like to secure contracts with our existing contractors and then get notice out to the public to see if we can fill those 2. It's possible, though, we may have to fill 3.
Board members?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, makes
All
sense.
set?
Okay. I don't think
Now
it
that we have the
requires any
contract.
action. We'll have minutes. I
No,
just,
right,
Now that we have the contracts, at least that addresses the legal issues we had.
right.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I got 3 minutes, so why don't we go on to administrator report, Troy?
I was away last week, so not a lot to report on at this meeting, other than I did go over and visit the construction site for the fire station. Looked like it's really coming along. A lot of work completed underground. You can see that they've got the electric conduits in. They got the lamp post, structure, cement structures in place. A lot of concrete's been poured. Catch basins are in, so you can even see where some of the topsoil loam has actually been applied. So a lot of work has occurred in the last couple of weeks. And again, the way the project is scheduled is Continental Paving's doing their work. They're trying to do all of the foundation work, all the site work, bring everything up to a completion where it's not finished. And then Ekman Construction will be coming in and doing their framing work and the actual construction of the building. There may be a little delay in the transition from Continental moving off site and Ekman actually gearing up. And then in the spring, Continental will be back to do the finish, paving work. So far, everything is we're ahead of schedule. We didn't think we were going to be breaking ground until September. Way ahead of schedule. I just, again, just need to remind people that because Continental started work so soon, we may just find a period of time, 3-4 weeks of very little activity during that transition.
Questions for Troy? Okay, on to selectmen reports. Mr. Brunel.
We had a budget committee meeting a couple weeks ago, and the only notable thing there was that they updated their bylaws, which included the social media, how we're going to deal with social media connectivity, communications. That was approved. And then we talked about the planning for going forward for the upcoming budget season. And I think we're on break now until August.
Okay. Mr. Schaefer.
Nothing with rec.
Okay.
Nothing. Conservation.
Nothing? Okay. There were no items removed for consent. Other business, the non-union wage plan update. We're about to hit 6:15, so maybe we can hold up on that so that we give these people a chance to enter into public comment. 6:15, there we go. Okay. again, for those of you that weren't here, since it was posted for 6:15, we did have to wait for 6:15 legally to have public input. So at this time, I will now open the floor for public input. This is an opportunity for the public to share thoughts with us. Please identify
Yep, no
yourself,
problem.
where you live, and
Yep, Joe Cabral, 7 Brickyard Drive, Litchfield. Just what I'm going to read is just not from me, some couple of people in my neighborhood. It might affect others. But first of all, and most important, who do you work for? And who pays your salary? Because that was one of the ones everybody in town is getting pissed at, that they're not, you're not supporting us.
you're asking us a question?
Yeah.
No, this is your opportunity for
I know.
comment.
But this is part of it. This is one part of it.
And why are we not supporting you? This is the first.
Okay. All right. Let me move on to the other thing. In 2010, we voted for town administrator with the understanding we take on town functions such as solid waste, police, code enforcement, and building inspector. Okay. That was what the voters voted for, and we would like to know why and who decided to place them under the fire chief, knowing you would be placing Kevin in front of a firing squad, because you know they didn't get along from past history from Milford. Brent, and that's what disappointed you. You have all knew about this, and one of our board of selectmen were very disappointed. Not surprised, but disappointed. Frankly, I'm pissed. I'm not speaking for the others, me, because you knew that was a hot item between those two. Okay, which is a bad move as far as I'm concerned. We would like to know who, for our town employees, gives a GPS on their phones and who decides to do that. Does any of the employees have a GPS?
Nope.
No. That's not what I heard. Okay, now we'll move on. Why was a written permission request to perform a job? Why? Who does that? All department heads have to speak to Doug or the fire chief to get things done? Since when? We had Kevin.
I don't know what you're getting at.
Hold on. It's going
Okay.
more.
I-
It's getting more. Now this is going to get into a little more. Kevin offered Staten that was enough work for him for full-time. Hold on. Why wasn't he offered to do part-time? And who decided not to let him stay on part-time?
Okay, I need to, when it starts to get into
Okay.
Mr. Lynch, period. I
Right.
need to tell you that the Board of Selectmen cannot, and we just cannot discuss this because it is a personnel issue. Okay? We've been advised by council. Mr. Lynch resigned. The fire chief accepted his resignation. And because it's a personnel issue, we cannot discuss it.
So you don't want to discuss it.
No, it's not that we don't want to, sir.
All right.
We cannot.
Has his
Okay.
position been filled?
No.
Nobody's doing it then right now, with nothing going on in town.
No, that's
You
not,
don't even have a temp.
We have a town.
We have a temp.
yeah.
The same person has been backing up Kevin for years.
Okay.
There's no one new.
We have John Gilchrist is he's been backup for the previous building inspector for many years. He's a retired building inspector from the town of Londonderry.
Okay. All right. Now this goes back to the SUV that Kevin had read. It was what bought for his department. Okay. Why was it then given to the fire department when it was always the building inspector's vehicle for that department? It wasn't a fire chief, wasn't a fire vehicle. It was appointed to Kevin for for this area. Why was it swapped over? And who approved it?
It wasn't.
Never swapped over.
Well, why did
It was assigned there because the position was assigned there.
right?
And again, we need to be careful because I cannot discuss
All right. Well, the
details.
vehicle was taken away from him.
Please understand that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just telling you, because this is what people are aggravated.
Actually, I think we can address this because it doesn't mean Kevin.
Right.
The
Right,
vehicle
'cause it doesn't mean
the
Kevin.
vehicle was never taken away from Kevin. The vehicle was repositioned as far as storage goes at the fire station where he starts his day. That vehicle was his primary use at all times unless he had some other conflict.
Right.
The only time I ever saw him not in that vehicle was when the vehicle was broken.
That's not true.
That's not true.
Well, recently, the vehicle, he was reassigned to a different vehicle in the fire department
The utility one.
because the fire chief's Suburban, whatever it is, that needed repair work. And the chief had some things he was doing, and the deputy chief had some things he was doing. So they were really deploying the vehicles they had and assigning them to what made the most sense. So since Kevin, the position
Kevin,
never
it's
really
not-
left, so the position never left town, it was best to assign a different vehicle to the building inspector than a vehicle that would be leaving town.
And I think it's also important to note too, that vehicle was always open for other departments to use when it wasn't used by the building inspector. So when that car was sitting here in the evening, if the fire department or police needed a car to go up to training, they would use that vehicle. So that vehicle was meant to be multiple uses, but it was primarily his response,
Right.
primarily his vehicle, or used by that department.
Yeah, because it was always parked here when Kevin wasn't used.
And when
Well, building
when
inspector.
Kevin's office moved to the fire department,
Yeah.
that's where the vehicle was stored at night.
But as soon as I saw him get down there, he wasn't driving that anymore.
I think that's coincidental.
He was driving something else. Okay. All right, this is still. Since then, can't our town employees swing to buy their home or grab lunch to check on a sick family member or a personal lunchtime, or for that matter, anytime? Okay, because I always witness girls walking out. That's his 15-minute break or whatever. And I heard he got nailed for that, which is wrong.
Oh, they can't discuss it. It won't go.
And they ain't going to touch it anyways. All right. But the girls in the office do their walk, and it's the same thing. It seems like we're running a state prison. This is the way people feel. And this is a small residential farming community. We're not a big town. We're a small town. Okay. And people feel like it's getting run like a damn state prison when you're doing stuff. From what we're hearing coming out of that fire station part. Okay. And that's why a lot of people are just, you guys can't tell me you didn't see Facebook postings because it went off the wall.
We never said that, sir.
I know.
All I'm telling you, please understand.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just telling you
Cannot
what people
discuss
told me to write, and I'm just reading off what they have.
And I understand, sir.
Okay.
I can tell you the lunch, just so you understand the town policy. The town does not provide paid lunch.
Right.
So, but we are required by state law that after working 5 hours, everyone's required to have a 15-minute paid break.
Right.
So the employees can use that 15-minute paid break however they choose.
Right.
So most employees will take a break, eat on the picnic table in the summertime. In the summertime, they may walk a little bit on the sidewalk. Wintertime, we just eat at our desk. If someone has the time to take their unpaid break and literally drive, from this building and go to their personal home, have lunch and drive back within 15 minutes, if that's possible, then that would be permissible.
I'm just
So
telling
why
you.
was he docked?
Why was he docked? That's my thing.
What if he was en route from the point?
I can't talk to you. I can't answer that. I'm just telling you that everyone is eligible to take a 15-minute break as long as they can leave the building and get back within 15 minutes.
Okay.
Otherwise, what are you going to do? You have everyone going home and going grocery shopping and everything. I don't know.
Right. I mean, his mother was sick, just got out of the hospital and everything. He went in and checked and he gets docked for that. I mean, that's crazy.
If an employee has an issue, they have earned time and they have sick time that they can use to take care of family members, immediate family members for sickness or whatever other reason.
So why does he get about half an hour when he was at the house again.
I can't talk about Kevin. I'm just telling you what town policy is. We have earned time and sick time, and folks can use that time. You continue on to talk about an individual. I'm talking about town policy.
In
Town hall. Why can't you talk about it?
we cannot talk
We can't
because it's a
legally talk
personnel
about
matter.
Cancer personnel, they won't legally talk
It's a
about it.
personnel matter. Okay.
All right. The other thing is, who on the board of the selectmen voted no to have Kevin become part-time? Or was the fire chief? Remember, this is the fire chief here making those decisions for our town. For not letting him be part-time before you let him go. And he asked.
There's one thing we did.
Okay.
I wouldn't even comment.
No,
on
we
that.
can't. I can't. There's some misinformation out there. Okay. And that's all I can say. And I just have to be so careful that this, I can't comment on it.
Right.
All right.
I'm just telling you, the people, what I'm getting hit with. And
Well, I understand. And
I'm saying,
I'm
I'll write it
pleading
up.
with you to understand
Yeah.
that.
Well, you can hear in the
Yes.
background they're mad at, so. All right. How many times in 1 year was Kevin written up under the fire chief? I know, but I'm only saying what the hell's down here. Reverend Kevin worked for our town for 10 years. Now, how many times before he was placed under the fire chief was he written up? And by the way, out of the five board members, who voted to put Kevin under the fire chief? Who voted under that? to put
No,
him
there's no
under?
reason we can't know that.
Well, it's public record.
It's public
I'm
record.
pretty sure it was
Okay, so
in,
can you answer us?
And it was not the idea of putting a person under it, was the idea of consolidating the
Okay,
position.
who-
We can
Okay.
talk about
Who voted?
consolidating the position, and that is not a
It's
problem.
in the minute.
In what I will,
It's in the minutes. I don't know if they know the
right,
information.
and I don't remember the answer
That are at the town hall.
because it was a different board also. So I I definitely voted for it because it was consolidating functions. It was, we studied this for 4 years before that was done.
Okay.
Okay, we looked at models in Bedford, Hudson. Okay,
You don't need to don't compare us to Hudson.
Yeah, don't compare us.
8,400 and 30,000.
You asked- you asked me a
Let him
question.
answer the question.
You asked me a question. I'm going to please tell you, I voted yes along with the board because the proposal made absolute sense for the town of Litchfield at the time. Okay, we studied this. This again started 4 years ago. This study, we've been studying it for 4 years before we took the final vote.
Was it
And-
ever discussed with Kevin? No. In his department?
yes, it was.
Fire code and
Yes,
building
it
code.
was.
Was
Go
there
side by
problems
side
with him
together.
running?
So it
Was there
makes
problems?
sense to have everything in a central location to have building and fire because code goes together. In order to build, you got fire code. So that's why I voted for that, was because it made sense to have all that together. Instead of having building here and fire down there, I made the decision to say, let's put those two together so they can work together because they have to work together.
But they're not working together.
And
Only
did
one
they work
person's making the
together?
decision.
Right.
Obviously,
No, and I think you were all aware of that.
you're giving one person a total power
Right.
over this town.
And nobody likes it. You better care.
Anything?
We pay your salary.
Yeah, that's why I was saying the salary. cost.
We're in,
We vote you in.
and that is, and if you think that I don't care, that is not the case. Okay,
On the.
I am
okay.
trying-
Care, you should buy.
I am trying to do what I can do as chair. I am trying to do what I can within the law, within what our legal counsel has advised us to do, and yet attempt to give you some answers to your questions.
You seem a
And
little nervous.
what's that?
You seem a little nervous. You really do seem nervous. Calm down. We're concerned taxpayers of the town of Litchfield, and we want answers.
Yeah. Okay.
Take a deep breath.
Okay, on the survey, who did you compare the survey with? With what, towns or something? That's my part. When you did that thing.
Bedford and Hudson.
Okay.
Bedford.
Bedford is higher population than us, and so in the town of Hudson. Did you compare, my thing is, did you compare it like to an actual town?
It has
same
nothing to
size?
do with the size of the town.
Right.
It has all to do with the function itself. And as Kevin Bork tried to explain, fire and building code go together and they work side by side. And so that where we don't have conflict and we don't have other issues with these
Is it a state law for that, to do it? Or
together.
anything?
No, it's a structure. And we thought this was a good
Structure.
structure after many years of doing it.
Building code and fire code.
Yeah.
Working together.
Because they do work together. They do work together. They, on any type of construction project, fire and building have to sign off on the structure.
You can't build
You
without having
can't build
fire.
without having both. And what we're trying to do for the town is streamline where people could come to make it one stop, have one stop department come and do this for the people,
That's
make it
correct.
more efficient. And that's what our motive was.
I mean, folks need to understand, I wasn't here, but in 2013, when the Board of Selectmen were preparing a budget, there was discussion. The discussion started then at possibly looking at reducing the building inspector position to part-time.
Mhm.
But at the same time,
And I
there was
was
a
against
discussion.
that.
There was a discussion saying, well, instead of taking this full-time position and reducing it to part-time, is there a way that we can better utilize the position? And the goal at that time, it takes time to implement. You have to do it in little steps. But the goal was, was always, from what I had have heard and I've seen in some minutes, was that the inspector position would take over all of the fire inspection work along with the building code work. So if you were as a homeowner and you were, I'm just giving you an example, you were putting in a brand new furnace, you would deal with one inspector. That inspector would come to your house and he would cover the building code and the fire code and life and safety. It'd be a one visit, maybe two, and in and out, very efficient, easy for the taxpayer. The reason that the discussion was also going in that direction was to try to see if there's a way that they were looking at a way to either stabilize costs or reduce costs. Because we had a part-time fire inspector that we were paying, I don't know, $4,500 a year, that would have to come in and do this work. We had no backup coverage, so we thought that if we could integrate the position into the fire department, you could get a lot of efficiency out of that. Not only the inspection work, you could get the firework and the possibility of, and we had this discussion of having this position actually be able to obtain firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 certification to provide some backup to the full-time firefighters. We only have 2 down at the station. So we can manage the workload of the inspector. The inspector could fill in during some scheduled vacation time or unplanned sickness. We could actually use the inspector to fill in that shift.
To be a firefighter?
So the position was to serve a long-term goal to be an inspector. They would do building.
Was it just on the fire department that this was discussed and never discussed with the building inspector? Is it something that
This
you
was
were
dis-
just working on?
This was discussed in a board meeting with the building inspector at the time.
Okay, and he knew he was kind of getting weaseled out into the fire department?
Not weaseled out, that we want him to get certifications within fire inspections to kind of combine the role.
And he
that
was
was,
doing that, right? He was going.
We're getting into a personnel.
yeah, I
We
can't
can't do that.
address that.
Okay, who is the health officer right now in town? No,
Well, the
we
position
created that one too.
But we have, okay.
right now, by default, the Board of Selectmen is actually the health officer, code enforcement, and zoning. So they appoint, by law, that's their job is to serve those roles unless they appoint someone. So by default right now, they are the actual board. this retirement notice, everything has just occurred. Okay. We were 4th of July week vacation. So we're just back. We'll be, we have an interim building inspector in place. We have great relationships with the town of Hudson and Londonderry. If we're in a pinch and we need a certified inspector for something, we're able to get that resource. And we would return that resource to them as well.
I'm here for you guys instead of this.
Yeah, and that's
To
what.
be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, sir, you let some of the other people
Yeah, let them
speak?
go.
No, they need to come up to
They
the
need to come up
They
to
need
the
to come
mic.
up.
Speak that.
Joe, will you yield the floor, please?
Okay, I'll yield at this point.
Raymond Peoples, 205 Charles Bancroft Highway, Litchfield, New Hampshire. I don't expect you guys to say one word because this is a personnel issue. I'm merely here to make a statement. I know I'm considered a troublemaker and a rabble-rouser, but I'll tell you what I really am. I'm a purveyor of what's wrong. You guys are wrong. Kevin's a great guy. He's at the end of his career. And you have, and Brent, I hold you responsible for this, and I hope every other citizen in the town does as well.
Grass is grass.
You know the history between Frank
That's right.
and Frank and Kevin from Milford.
That's right.
You know this history. This is just a case of you guys engineering him out of the job to get an extra firefighter. I've never seen anything like this. I never thought we'd ever see anything like this in Litchfield. This is, I mean, everyone here can plainly see it. You guys been papering Kevin for a while. We all know Kevin. We know what's going on. We know when he was getting written up. You know, this is no secret to any of us. Not one of us. And it was like, you put him on administrative leave for a week and you give the guy a choice. He's got a choice of getting fired or taking retirement. That's his choice. That's what he came in with when you guys called him back in for your meeting. I hope you guys just understand how uncharitable you are, really, truly are. And, you know, we had Chaos and Kindness here the other night talking about the love in Litchfield.
No, but you guys-
Get out. It's not even close.
no, but you-
I'll tell you, my phone hasn't stopped ringing. People have stopped at my house.
That's what
I have people that have texted me that want to start a legal fund for him to take you guys to court. I really hope he goes and lawyers up with Joey O'Brien's lawyer and makes you guys miserable for the next 5 years. I really do. Look what you've done. You want to send Kevin at his age to be a firefighter. Y'all know. Why aren't you a firefighter, Brett? Why haven't you been pulling a hose? Because you know somebody over 40 years old has a hard time doing that. Kevin was a fireman. He was a fireman under you. You guys didn't get along. You stuck it to him. And I'm here proud enough to stand up for what I think is right and at least say what's on my mind. Because you don't stand up for anything, you stand up for nothing. So I'm standing up for the little guy again. Just like this thing down here on the farm. You got, you know, it's no one gets up here and talks. No one comes and brings us to your doorstep. But all I am is disappointed. I'm disappointed that you guys would do that. I mean, you could have wrote it out a couple of more years if that was your plan, but you would have retired, but you guys have stuck him. So, hallelujah.
Thank you, Dave.
Hi, Tim Hebert, 21 Century Lane. I'm not a public speaker, so bear with me. I won't get you guys into the whole personnel thing because I understand that you guys can't talk about it. I just want to know why he was put underneath, why was the head of the department of the building department put under the fire department in the first place? Why was one head put under another head?
It wasn't that, Tim. It was the idea that the whole operation was placed within the fire department. There was
Okay.
not any particular, it was from here on in that it was going to be no matter who was in there.
Okay, so
Okay.
did Kevin go to the fire chief as his superior, or?
That is correct. He answered.
So he was placed on.
That is correct.
Okay.
Right.
I thought we have a town admin that was supposed to take care of the department heads.
That's what I said at the beginning.
How do you mean, Tim?
Why are we putting his responsibilities underneath the fire chief? I mean, if we're doing that,
No,
we
the-
can make
the
him
board
part-time.
of- the
and then we
board
can
of
make the
selectmen-
The building department part-time. We can save money if we
The
want to
board-
consolidate.
The Board of Selectmen, the responsibility of the Board of Selectmen is to deal with personnel by state law.
Yeah.
And that's what the board decided to do.
Through the town administrator, correct?
This position was changed from a department head salaried position to an inspector position and assigned to the fire department. So the direct report now was the fire chief.
So he was demoted and then placed underneath the fire chief, is what you're saying.
Right.
The only thing he lost was his department head status. The position lost the department head status.
Okay, that's fair, that's fair. That's a reasonable answer. Now, I already heard the intent. The intent is to eventually make that position a firefighter, right? That can respond.
It was a thought to provide better service for the people in town during the day when the callmen are out of town.
We just not conflict. That's long term.
Right. That's
That,
not
that was not
immediate.
a direct. The only requirement of that current position was to try to get the code certifications for the
Right,
fire.
fire code.
That was it.
Fire inspector.
Right. That was it. And that process started, I think you said it in 2013.
Right.
That's when that was presented to that position at the time to go for that, because we wanted to start looking at combining those services together. So this was not we decided to do this a year ago. We decided to do this 4 or 5 years ago.
In fact,
Well,
when,
I researched it, you guys did look into
and
it.
it's important to note that when the position changed, I think it was last September, it was designed that it would be done in increments. So that position, certain requirements of the position, obtaining firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 certification, that was out in 2 years from September 2017. So it was 2 years. There was a time period to be able to become certified.
I just truly think that we should have a building inspector, be it part-time, full-time, whatever the amount of hours that is there requires. If you want another firefighter, come to the town, come to the voters and ask for another firefighter. I am, Mr. Lemire, you know, I'm a full-time firefighter for 17 years. You hired me. I'm all for more firefighters. I totally think that, the town does an injustice to their firefighters, having just 2 full-time firefighters on that truck. They should have more for their safety and for the town's safety. I don't think the way of doing it is taking the building inspector and placing him in the fire department and then transitioning him over to that. I agree with Mr. Bork that fire code and VOCA code go hand in hand, but they work in parallel to each other. They shouldn't work together at that merge. There should be some separation between the two. Fire code has all to do with building code. I agree with that. But there's also another aspect of the fire code, going into the existing structures and going through and making sure that they're in compliance. You're adding that on to the building code the building inspector's job. When is he going to have enough time to make sure that he's doing his other side safe? Or that side safe.
We did do that research, Tim. We did it. This wasn't without research and without an understanding that this could be accomplished, and it would be very good for the people of town. It would be a benefit. It would be an increase in service at no additional cost for the town.
But we
But
have
in
we
the
have
long
a
run,
full-time full-time employee in the fire department right now, Mr. Lemire, that is both fire inspector 1 and fire inspector 2 certified. And I know from the past that the full-time personnel were the individuals doing the fire inspections. What has changed? The call volume hasn't significantly went up that much during the daytime for them not to accomplish that.
I don't know how you mean.
What has changed in the job classification of the full-time firefighters that we currently have? What has changed? What has made them so much more busy that they can no longer do the inspection portion, the fire inspection?
Oh,
portion?
I see what you're getting.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was
Considering
really,
this fire inspector 1 and fire inspector 2, the highest certification in the state.
Mhm.
why did we need the building inspector to become that? It's a redundancy if you guys are trying to consolidate.
As a backup and a cross train. And that was the only reason.
Okay.
And again, that was a long term. That was incrementally long term as the town and as the situation progressed within the department.
Okay.
Okay.
My last question for you is, we all know that the fire chief is part-time. In my eyes, the building department was full-time. Why wouldn't you put the fire department underneath the budget, the building department, considering the building department was full-time and could be on site and be available?
Because state law prohibits that. RSA 154 prohibits that.
Okay. That's a fair enough answer. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Mr. Chairman, I want to remind you that I have to leave at 6:50.
Okay,
So that, just so people don't think that I'm being rude.
okay, thank you.
Carrie Douglas, 9 Pheasant Street. I'm sure you all are aware that I'm very, very much in favor of consolidation. I think that's a great idea, driving down the costs. And I agree, from my experience, you would like to have the building inspectors work in parallel or together. But I can say that when I pulled a building permit in any other town, I've not gone to the fire station to do so. I've gone to the town hall and talked to the building inspectors. If we want the fire chief to no longer be responsible for building inspections, you can separate out the job requirement and put it under the building inspector. Keep them separate, because I don't working together means they're working side by side. The way we restructured it is that one is now subordinate to the other. We are now saying that fire is more than the building. And that's not quite true, because the certificate of occupancy is typically signed by the building inspector. So yes, there's a spot for the fire chief, but it's signed by the building inspector. So I appreciate what you attempted to do. I just don't think it was fully thought out. We didn't consider the personalities involved. And now, unfortunately, as we go forward, there's going to be a lot of hard feelings that are going to make future work in this town a little more difficult to come by. So I would really encourage you guys to talk to your guys, figure out what the heck is going on. And we need some improvement, because otherwise, when we go for another building, people are going to tell you to go screw. Yeah. So let's figure out how we can rebuild the trust, how we can build up morale, because from what I'm hearing, so there's a department that has a little bit of issue with that. And let's refocus, because otherwise, all the hard work that we put into getting this fire station, all the goodwill is going to be gone. So I would really, really encourage you to figure out what the heck is going on and try to make an improvement, because I worked my butt off, and I would be really ticked off if all that work is gone and evaporated. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Bryant, 16 Arcadian Lane, Litchfield. I just have two things. I know you can't comment personally towards it. I come as a citizen in one place looking and saying, have we made a mistake here in town? We're going to cost the town thousands or millions of dollars in a lawsuit. Have we looked at this clearly from a personnel standpoint of conflict and gone back and said, we've set ourselves up for failure here as a town, and we're going to cost the town taxpayer dollars because someone has been gone and forced into retirement. The second thing I have to say is everything that Kevin brings to town with me as a department head for the Recreation Commission has been tremendous. I've met that man Saturdays, Sundays, everywhere. Knowing he's not on the clock, he's always been available. He's been a source for my commission continuously for every year I've been involved. It's been immense for me, and he will be sorely missed, and I don't know how he'll be replaced. And I'm very disappointed in how this is handled in this town. We treat each other better than this, and that didn't happen here.
Thank you, Jim. Is there anyone else that would care to comment? Okay, it's 10:07, and I want to thank you all, and I'll be closing public comment. and we will move on to the next item of business. The non-union wage plan update. Mr. Brown.
So I think John just brought this up this evening to see if we've begun any work on it. At this point in time, I can't report to the board that we've started to reach out to the communities and do the survey work. But I told the board before, the data is hosted on the New Hampshire Municipal Association is no longer accurate. So it's very labor intensive to reach out to the communities and get them to provide you with the accurate data. But we will do that, and I will try to make it a priority this month to get it done.
Yeah, I only ask because I know how much work it's going to be. And I know it's not easily collected anymore.
And I know I got budget starting, and I
We got
know
budget starting. It's going to be a
you
factor.
got 30 days to get it done, right?
And and when we pass the warrant, we're well past due to refresh it. So that's the only reason I asked.
No, I know.
I thought we were
No.
targeting a September timeframe. That's why I brought it up, just to see where we're at. But it's fair. It's a lot of work. I know that it is.
Okay, police chief contract, John, that was a.
Yeah, so I know when the chief had asked us to consider renewing his contract early, we decided to table it. And with the fact that I think it expires in the end of December, the question is when are we going to start working on that renewal? Because I know the budget committee is going to be a factor in the budget, and the budget's going to want to know where we're going with it too. So just let's start thinking about it. We go into budgets, in August, end of August, and if we can get this out of the way and dealt with, we know where we stand. So it's just to make sure
Maybe
that it doesn't get followed through. That's
Maybe
all.
we can do them parallel, the regular police union.
Oh, yeah.
The chief.
Yeah, so yeah.
Okay. Okay, next meeting is going to be Monday, July 23rd, 2018. And the only other item, there were two other items that we're going to be discussing tonight. And one will be adjourning the meeting and going into non-public session to discuss compensation and merit increases. And after the, of employees. And after that, we will have a non-meeting on collective bargaining. So is there anything else to come before the board at this point? All right, I will entertain a motion to go into non-public session under RSA 91A:3 2A, compensation. Moved by Mr. Bork, seconded by Mr. Brunel. Roll call. Mr. Brunel?
Yes.
PM. Thank you.